Political parties in Tamil Nadu intensified anti-Hindi agitation after All India Radio or AIR reduced the streaming of Tamil programs. PMK and MDMK are planning to hold agitations on Hindi imposition. Vaiko shall lead an agitation near Valluvar Kottam in Chennai. The agitation is also to seek the official language status for all the 22 languages mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Constitution. The MDMK is opposed to. Thanks for joining us on the debate. For the benefit of the viewers, tell us that this time around, your leader, of course, has protested, and also Vaiko of MDMK has protested very, very vehemently in starting an agitation on the 6th of October. What is your main grouse this time? Why do you feel that Hindi is being imposed, Boopathy?
See, Vanakkam. Happy to always to participate in the discussion. See, the problem here in with the central government here is that there is an all India radio stations in Tamil Nadu. They have separate programs in regional languages in most all the states in Union territories. In Tamil Nadu, especially in Karaikal Station, they have started to broadcast 4 hours daily Hindi programs. Which is not useful, which is not at all required in the southern part of India. That is especially in Tamil Nadu. So that is why yesterday our founder leader, Dr. Ramadas, has issued a statement saying that this is not appropriate. This amounts to imposition of Hindi directly through All India radio stations. Therefore, this has to be withdrawn. And rightfully, today, the All India radio station, especially the Karaikal Station, they have said that they have issued saying that they have stopped the program from yesterday night.
Right.
So that is the situation.
But then tell me something.
As you said, it was not the age-old argument. You have to understand that time and again, irrespective of the party at the central, they always try to impose the culture, their own culture all over India. You know, India is not a homogeneous cultural entity. It is a multi-cultural society. It has, with respect to language, with respect to food, with respect to festivals, with respect to religion, with respect to various other daily activities, India is diverse. So, especially with respect to language, the union government has to be very, very careful, and it has to be sensitive while issuing certain direction with regard to All India Radio or Doordarshan or with regard to any public policy, with respect to education policy. They have to be very careful to accommodate the regional sentiments all over India. That is more important.
Right. When I said age-old, what I meant was actually that, you know, a discussion which has been ongoing since the 60s. Tamil Nadu was the first state to stand up against Hindi imposition and to say, do not bring Hindi hegemony onto us. We know how to handle our culture and our language being one of the most ancient. Vinoba Boopathy, you forget I'm a Tamil as well. And yes. I may live in, I also speak Hindi fluently, but I totally understand where this imposition comes from. Any kind of imposition should be opposed, but we have to look at it from the prism of logic and also to the prism of changing times, Vinoba Boopathy. We cannot be living in a time warp. Now, I want to ask you one other question. Now, Karaikal is part of Puducherry, right? I mean, it's a union territory, if I'm not wrong, right? So, in union territory, it is administered by administrators who are all appointed by the center. So, someone may say, I'm asking you, someone may say, well, if the administrator has been, you know, appointed by the center, then obviously there will be Hindi programming. Can you hear me? I think there is some problem with his connection. We should get him back on air. And he was saying that, you know, what the thing is that, you know, India had brought to your notice this story, but Karaikal radio station apparently has also issued a notification saying that they will stop the Hindi programming ASAP. But then one needs to understand, like I was asking Vinoba Boopathy, that after all, Karaikal is part of Puducherry, Pondicherry, as we also knew it at one time. And it is a union territory and it is run by an administrator, and the center is the one which appoints the administrator. So, Vinoba Boopathy, I was asking you this question before we had a bit of a connectivity problem, Vinoba Boopathy. Karaikal is part of Puducherry, right? I mean, it is administered by an administrator who is appointed by the center. So, they could as well say that Hindi programming is fine. I'm just being the devil's advocate here. Huh?
No, you may be right technically, but you know, Puducherry has a legislative assembly as well.
Right.
two union territories in India which has Union Legislative Assembly. One is Delhi and one is Puducherry. And Karaikal has its own people representative. It is not like Andaman Nicobar. It is not like Lakshadweep. Even if it is so, Andaman Nicobar Islands, even if you take it as a union territory, you have to consider it as a separate administrative entity, which has its own language, which has its own food culture, it has its own regional identity. Just because they are part of India doesn't mean that the central government, through its policies, can impose Hindi in radio programs or TV programs or in any government programs. We have to be very careful, especially in matters relating to education.
Right.
So, irrespective of a state or a union territory, we have to understand that India is a federal country, and every state and union territory has its own right to protect its culture. It's a fundamental right, as also the directive principles of state policy, where even if a small group of people have a separate culture of its own, the group and the community has all the rights in the world to protect their culture, whether it is a language, food, or its dressing habits, or its religion or culture, whatever it is. It is there very specific in the constitution, but time and again, irrespective of the party, I'm not blaming the one party at the center or the other party, but irrespective of the party, every time, whenever a new party comes in or another party goes out, they start to impose Hindi. And you can also see in some of the ministers, whenever they gave statements with regard to language issue, they mistakenly say that Hindi is a national language.
That's
Hindi
right.
is not national language.
So that's what I wanted to ask you about, providing official status to all the 22 languages. Now, there has been a debate, and particularly on Hindi Divas, we saw there was a debate. Two things, and I want your party's view on it and also your view on it, is that, do you think all the languages should be given the official status? And number two, do you think, like the Home Minister said, that, Hindi becomes a link language, or Hindi becomes the main language which actually connects this nation?
Number one, at least the constitutional recognizes 22 languages as official languages.
Right.
At least with regard to these 22 languages, it has to become an official language. That is more important. Okay, all the language should become an official language. That is more important. If at all, if you are going to use one language as a link language, English is always there. With the help of English, the union and the state government can all communicate in all spheres, irrespective of the departments, irrespective of ministries, irrespective of any kind of thing. They can definitely communicate in English. Okay, there is no need of imposing one particular language called Hindi upon each other. Take Bengal, take Odisha, take Andhra Pradesh, take Tamil Nadu or Kerala, Karnataka. And then Maharashtra, there is a Hindi heartbeat. At least one or two states, they have a opportunity to learn Hindi. They know what is the Hindi language. They can have a Hindi as a link language or official connect language. But with regard to other states, they have their separate language and no need to have Hindi as a link language. And there was a guarantee given by our late former Prime Minister Nehruji, that Official Languages Act was enacted in 1963, and in that act, while that enacting the Parliament, he gave a commitment that unless and until the regional states accepts Hindi as a linked language, there won't be any disturbance, and English will continue to be the regional link language between states.
Also, Vinoba Boopathy, I want to ask you that, do you think, like the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam says it openly, or the MDMK says it openly, that does the PMK also feel that because there is a BJP government at the center and the dispensation is run by them, therefore the Hindi imposition has become virulent these days than it was, before?
See, with regard to our party, our founding founder leader, Dr. Ramadas, has time and again said that Tamil language has to be given importance in the state government itself. Within the states, we cannot able to bring in a compulsory state language education here in Tamil Nadu. That we have our own differences between other parties. But when it comes to imposition of Hindi, there is one single sentiment across all parties and all movements in all organizations in Tamil Nadu, that in the name of anything, even in indirectly or directly, Hindi should not be imposed in any form, irrespective of it can be a radio program or TV program or any government programs, union government programs. Or imagine today itself, I have some small operational difficulty while opening union government websites. It is there in English and Hindi only.
Yeah.
People from other regional languages, they cannot able to access union government's websites in their own language. How come all these programs all these government schemes and programs, if a particular commoner from deep districts in Tamil Nadu wants to learn about union government's programs and schemes, whether if he falls as a beneficiary or not, if he wants to fill in an application, if he wants to apply